Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt, and this is Team Chicago Challenge. We are in the process of changing the ignition on my Triumph. Now, I've had my Triumph, I bought my Triumph in 1972 from George Wills. I made 34.5 points as a novice. I had to be a novice for one more year, but I bought the bike so I could go run Badger. But that's a whole other story. So I've had the bike all the way back then. I've had the engine apart a couple of times, down to the cases a few times. And it's got a magneto on it. Now with the magneto, it's set at 38 degrees before top dead center. And it was getting very hard to start. So I talked to my friend Dale Madison. He's got this nice little shop in Wisconsin. And we're going to change the ignition to a modern ignition. We're going to have electronic ignition, battery, and a coil. Simple as that. The battery's got to be charged and no charging system. But if I have two batteries, it should be fine for any motorcycle race I'm going to go to with this bike. So I want to thank Dale for helping me. I'm going to show you some of that footage, some of the footage at the house, getting the bike ready to bring over here. And I'm going to show some racing footage. I think I'll show you at least that half mile from Champaign where the bike really ran good when the pistons were brand new. So let's check out what's going on at Dale's shop in Wisconsin, and let's see what we can learn about changing ignition on a motorcycle. On my Triumph race bike, we are going to a total loss ignition. This is an old battery box that I found. Probably used it on my short rod Triumph many years ago. I modified the box and I put the coil to the box. I am going to locate the battery below the steering head as we take a look at my Trackmaster frame 750 Triumph. I have insulated clamps, 4 on the down tubes, and that's what we're going to use to mount the box as we take a look at the ARD magneto. I have put 4 holes in the box and made the holes into little squares so that we could use carriage bolts. I did not want bolt heads to be against the battery, so I used these round carriage bolts to hold the box to the frame using these insulated clamps. I am going to use 4 lock nuts and a washer. I've already taken the time to figure out the exact location for this box so that we can easily exchange batteries. With a total loss system, the only energy comes from the battery. So it's battery, ignition, coil. Seeing the races I'm running are only 6, 8, and maybe 10 lap races at the most, but probably just 6 and 8. One of these 4 amp hour batteries should be good enough. And I'll have my battery charger with me at the track. I snug all the bolts down. Now I found this nice compact battery. But I'm going to have to put some insulation in the box, and I'll use a standard battery strap to hold the battery in place as we take a look at the coil that I got from Tri-Spark. The ARD Mag setup that I am replacing is set at 38 degrees before top dead center. It has no advance mechanism. Next, I'm going to remove the primary cover. The reason I'm taking this cover off because my timing marks are on the drive sprocket on this side of the engine. As I remove the screws, I'm putting them in a sandwich bag. This is a tip I picked up from Ed Hilton from 4 and 6 Racing, who always advised me to buy sandwich bags to keep parts in. And they're very cheap. They never cost more than a dime each. So as I remove the screws, and then I'll be removing the cover and the gasket. This is a dry setup. I have a Gilmer belt drive, and look at that front sprocket. That's where I have my timing marks on the sprocket face. On the other side of the engine, we are going to remove the drive mechanism for the ARD Mag. Over the years, hundreds of these Mag setups were sold, and many dirt track racers use this setup. It's a self-contained unit driving the magneto, but there is no advanced mechanism. So wherever you set the mag, that is where the spark fires. And because it's set at 38 degrees before top dead center, it makes it a little bit harder to start this bike. I removed the cover, and you will see this also uses a Gilmer belt, 2 sprockets that are exactly the same size. The exhaust cam runs at half the speed of the engine. So first I loosen up this through bolt. But what holds the sprocket in place is the taper machined into the exhaust cam and the taper on the back of this drive mechanism. I'm using a Wentworth bolt because it's sitting on a taper, and I will just use a hammer to break the taper. As you can see, the sprocket comes off easy. I can remove the belt. We're looking at the taper, and this taper has a pin. I am going to remove this drive mechanism from the sprocket and reinstall it on the exhaust cam. And now we're heading up to Dale Madison's shop in Wisconsin. All right, so the most important thing that I can see is when we're taking this off, that shaft doesn't come off that.
Yep. So it's gonna loosen up nicely. And I get a I'm going to see if I can get some pressure on that shaft.
Dale used the long screwdriver to hold the shaft in place as we remove the cover. If the shaft came out, it could disturb the timing of the 4 timing gears. And then I asked Dale, how much experience does he have with these modern solid-state ignitions on the Triumphs?
Experience you have with them? Have you been doing many, or?
Well, yeah. And when after 40 years, the ignitions are pretty well shot.
Right.
The advanced units operate in a very high temperature and never get any lubrication, and they wear pretty quickly.
Right.
And when they start getting sloppy, you can't get accurate ignition timing on both cylinders, and it's just time to make a move. And when you do that, the electronic ignition is a nice upgrade.
Right. Right.
And you can, once you set it in place and tighten everything down, it never moves. It gives you the same spark every time, and exactly 180 degrees apart. We have to clean this had some paint on it. I'm going to clean that off. Well, what's up here? Everything's a trip point in this shop.
That's okay.
Just want to make sure that groove is clean so I can put the snap ring back in.
Right, that too.
This is a stock Triumph timing cover I've had for many, many years. Dale has installed 2 brand new oil seals in this vintage cover. The seals that were in the cover could be over 50 years old. That upper oil seal needs to be flush with the engine cover. As we now see that seal in the cover, and we're looking at the coil as we're starting to run wires to the coil and from the ignition. Dale is now installing the Tri-Spark solid state ignition system. We are starting to run wires to the coil, from the battery, from the ignition.
This is preliminary timing. It's static timing, and and after we get, is the bike ready to run?
Well, it ran a year ago. I didn't run this year.
Any gas in it?
I think so. But I brought fresh gas too.
Oh. Yeah, I guess we get it put on there. Gotta have a ground. Okay, for that, then we probably got a couple of terminals in that little bag over there to put on these wires right here, maybe. Yeah. Dump these out in there where they can't get away. It eliminates corrosion, and that's one of the major problems of electrical failures. Put a little grease on there, and that'll keep it fresh.
If you remember, when I removed the drive mechanism, when I took the drive off the magneto setup, that the taper had a notch in it. There is a pin in this exhaust cam, and that needs to be removed because the new rotor is just a fine taper, no pin needed. Now let's look at this again. This is the original taper with a notch in it for the magneto. This is the new rotor for the tri-spark system. It's just a simple taper, no notch needed.
There's an important measurement here that brought me to that attention, that the face of this has to be inboard of this shoulder.
Oh yeah, right, right.
There is a mark on the tri-spark stator unit that has to be lined up with the rotor. As I look inside the cam and see the taper, now Dale is going to line up the rotor magnets with that mark that will line up with the stator unit. This is what we call static timing. And the engine is set at 38 degrees before top dead center while this is being lined up.
I know when I was setting timing, I would always think twice. But to adjust the timing with that, did you ever work with an ARD?
Oh, yes.
Where you had to move with the two little pins?
Two Allen screws,
Right.
yeah. Got 332 wrench to get in there, and
Right.
you can't see it anyway, and you fish around for it. Back on the mark here.
All right, so everything lined up is static.
Yes.
All right, now we're going to be able to run the test.
Yes.
For the first test, we remove the spark plugs, keep them connected to the coil, and lay them on the head.
Press and hold the test switch while switching on the power to ignition. The light did come on, and The LED light should come on when the magnet is between A and B marks on the rim of the stator unit. And I can't see where the rim, I don't know where it's at. I can't see it. But said the light did come on and the system is expected to function normally if both tests are passed.
With both tests successfully completed, I put down the camera while Dale is reading some instructions. We put some gas into the gas tank. With a few kicks, the bike fired up and it idled. Now we're going to jump back to 2018 Champaign County Fairgrounds. Let's see how this Triumph ran after I installed new pistons. Let's watch the starter and the light. Blasting off the line, it is Sam Evans. He's on a Suzuki 500 twin two-stroke. Looks like it's in a Champion frame. That motor makes approximately the same horsepower as my 750 Triumph. Now coming by, that's Darren Hinshaw, and he's on a 500 Honda single, I believe. Also in a racing frame. We head down the front straightaway. I motored by the Suzuki, and now I'm trying to chase down this 500cc single-cylinder Honda. And that engine also probably comes close to making the same horsepower as my 750 twin. It is a 4-valve single-cylinder, more modern engine. So we head down the front straightaway, get on the gas. Now I'm going to ride all the way to the outside of the track, up in the cushion, up by the hay bales. Now I'm not quite getting on the gas quick enough, but I am going into the lead. And let's listen to my engine and see if I'm on the gas enough. I believe I'm coasting a little bit too long as I drop down to the bottom of the track, get on the gas. I should point out, generally, you do not shift on a half mile. Once you get into the top gear, you leave it in top gear. I head down the back chute, the sun is in my eyes. But it's a beautiful day in Champaign. And I'm leading the race. Go in high, square up the corner, come out of the corner at the bottom of the track, run it up by the hay bales. I should be getting on the gas a little bit quicker. Square the corner off, come out on the bottom of the track. Down the front straightaway, past the grandstands. White flag, 1 lap to go. Run it up by the hay bales, square the corner off. I might be a little bit too cautious in this last corner. I'm running into the center of the track and coming around the outside and picking up the win in this heat. It is Darwin Henshaw on that 500 Honda. But it's a good day. It's only my second dirt track of the year. Special thanks to Dale Madison. Did a great job getting this bike running great. Get a hold of Dale if you got any British motorcycle questions at dalescycle@hotmail.com. For more information on the Tri-Spark ignition it's trispark.com.au for Australia. On Facebook, it's TriSpark Ignition. We are now looking at helmet cam footage from Elkhorn 2018. To contact me, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. I love to hear from my audience. I want you to tell me what you think of these clips that I'm putting up on YouTube. And remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action. And I highly encourage you to visit the World of Motorcycle Museum, Winamac, Indiana, just off Indiana 39, 4 miles south of North Judson. It's a great trip and a great collection of motorcycles, but give them a call first at 574-896-3172.